Built by horse players for horse players, AmWager is designed for speed, power, and ease of use. AmWager brings CAW-style tools to everyday horse players, including Dutching, ABC Ticket Maker, and Pro Percent, an advanced betting tool that lets you assign weighted percentages and build multiple structured wagers with a single click. Every month, AmWager turns the odds in your favor with 0% takeout on select tracks. These promos offer you up to $100 more for your winning bets and giving you value for your wagers not offered anywhere else. Rated 4.7 stars on Google with over 200 reviews, AmWager is trusted by horse players who expect more from their wagering platform. If you're looking for better tools and better value, you need AmWager. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit amwager.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 or older where applicable. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 1-877-ONY or text.
Welcome to the Sport of Kings podcast, episode 374, sponsored by AmWager. Go to amwager.com to see all their promotions, including the 0% takeout on win bets at Saratoga every Sunday in August. That's right, you can bet at 0% takeout into the Saratoga win pool, in which the CAW teams are throttled down. That's about as player-friendly as you can get right now, so take advantage of it. As always, I welcome your feedback on Twitter/X. My handle is @Derby1592. And this week, I am joined by special guest Michael Kipnis, a.k.a. The Wizard. We will have a detailed discussion of races 9 through 12 from Saratoga on Saturday. That includes the Grade 1 Christophe Clement Stakes. The show will focus on finding and exploiting value. We'll talk about our strongest handicapping opinions and how we might leverage those opinions using optimal betting strategies. Hi, Michael. How's it going?
It's going well. Nice and humid here today at Saratoga.
Yeah, how's Saratoga been treating you this summer?
You know, I always say that a bad day at the racetrack is good day, anywhere else. I'm very happy and very fortunate to do what I do, and no matter if I pick well or I don't, just being, on the backstretch and, being on the roof, watching the races from that perspective with my binoculars, talking to trainers, it's 2 months of heaven.
Yeah, I got to experience it like I try to do once a year, every year. This year I got there for a week, got to see you while I was there. Had a book signing, which was pretty exciting and fun, and got to see you and lots of other people I knew already, but also meet some new players and talk about racing. And speaking of my book, Betting on Horses, which is available at betwiththebestmedia.com, you were one of the featured experts in the book. So I know you've read the book, and I just thought it'd be nice if you could share with the listeners maybe what you thought were the most interesting or valuable parts of the book.
Well, I thought it was a very original concept, Chris. Having all these experts in different fields or different takes on handicapping in one book, and you assembled many which I know personally, but all that are highly experienced professionals in the game, coming at it from different angles. To read through these cast of characters and experts, it was a pleasure, to learn about their methodologies, learn a little bit about them personally. I think you did a splendid job at capturing the essence of the human being backbone of the game, where most of these people, lots of handle goes into the pools, and they all support the games at different levels for many, many years. I think I've read many books on handicapping, going back to all of Tom Ainsley's books, and even further back from that. And this is a very original concept and execution that you did of this subject matter. Just having all these people in one book, and it's laid out beautifully. I highly recommend it to any level of expertise in the game. It's a must book for your shelf.
Well, thank you very much. I don't I won't try to add anything to that. I really appreciate it. And the your participation in the book, that helped add to it. And I don't really have much else to say. Thank you. I hope so. The listeners are interested in learning more about the book, or maybe getting a copy of the book. Go to Bet with the Best Media. That's all one word. betwiththebestmedia.com, and you can get a copy there. Also, I will be continuing my book signing tour next week. I'll be at Del Mar, so I'm going to the opposite coast, where the turf meets the surf on the Pacific Classic Day. I'll be at Del Mar for a book signing. So if you are planning in the area, planning to be at Del Mar, please stop by the table where I'll be doing the signing. Say hello. If you've got a copy of the book, I'd be happy to sign it. If you don't and you're interested in getting one, I'll have copies there as well. So continuing doing that, using the book as an excuse to visit some of my favorite places on the planet, including Saratoga and Del Mar this summer. So let's move on then to today. And before we get into the races, Michael, I know you have a new product you're excited about. So maybe tell us about your approach, the way you analyze races. We talked about different ways of doing it that the different experts in the book have. Well, you have your own way. Kind of describe what that is and talk about how this new product sort of reflects that.
Well, the new product is called the betting window, and it's a continuation or an enhanced version of a product that I've had for about 12 years on my site at wizardracingsports.com, and beginning yesterday at the Daily Racing Form. They're going to unleash a major promotion worldwide. They're going all in on this product because I believe in it so much. I have been producing products for customers since 1986. That's a lot of years. And that's just, I was playing the races a lot earlier than that. Actually started in the later 60s, 1960s. So I had a product called the betting window, like I said, at both my site and at DRF. And for like 5 years, I said, how could I make this better? The industry has a problem. They have many problems. But one of the major problems is they cannot come up with a product that could be used by the beginner, the novice, and even you, the expert, Chris. And I wanted to address that issue in one product and capture everything that's needed in just a few pages. Something you can have on your phone, download to your phone or iPad. You can print out and put in your back pocket and take it out with 1 minute to go and go to your ADW, or if you're at the track, at the window and bet. So this new enhanced betting window, which I really feel is the greatest product that's ever been produced in racing. And I don't say that I don't say that lightly, and not even to pat myself on the back, because I feel that to grow the game and to keep people interested through a day of racing, you have to break it down for the beginner so that it's easy for them to understand, but also addressing the needs of the novice or the expert. And that's very hard to do. And it took many years, it took the last at least 5 years to sketch it out, develop it. So basically, what I do is what the product is. You don't need a daily, if you're a beginner or even a novice, you do not need a program or a daily racing form. I do all the handicapping for you. I would say my day to produce this product is at least 8 hours a day. It's handcrafted. Now they say, why do I work that hard? Why don't I just feed AI and, just like AI be my assistant? If I ever did that, Chris, you can put a bullet in my head, because that's not going to happen. This is all handcrafted. I think of what I do as an artist. I start with a blank canvas and I paint and I paint and I paint over it and I paint over it until I finish a full card. And that is all from my mind and my hard work. There's no AI involved here. AI is good for some things. It can't do what I do. It can't go on the backstretch and get information from trainers. It can't watch races from the roof and see things that I see. It can't instinctually put out the right bets for the right situation for every race. So you don't need a program. The post position, the post time, race number, the diagram of the racetrack for that distance, no matter what the distance is right on the sheet. So every race, as you know, Chris, is like a New York Times crossword puzzle. You have to handicap, dissect the race, do your research to come up with your selections. That's the first phase of the handicapping process. Once I have the selections and I note them on the sheet, I have to determine, based on the selections and the wagers that I'm giving for each race, how strongly I feel about the bet. Now, everything I do is betting related. Nothing I've ever done. I've been betting since I'm, 5 years old. That's over 65 years. So betting is everything for me. As you know, you can be a great handicapper, but you lose it at the windows. You have no idea how to bet, and you bet wrong. And you'll say to yourself at the end of the day, I picked 5 winners. How did I lose money? I mean, that's the art. Yes, handicapping is very important. That's where it starts. But then executing the handicapping selections for the right wagers is the key to success. So in addition to making wagers for every race on the card, I give a strength of opinion. So you can't like every race the same. No way. Some races, there's no play. You see a race like on Saturday, there's 4 races. NYRA carded 4 maiden special weight races where 90% of the horses are first-time starters. Bravo to them to do that on a Saturday. I mean, that's crazy. But those races sometimes are indecipherable. It's a crapshoot. Unless you have information, unless you have some, information from the trainer, a good clocker giving you information, only a pedigree, information on pedigree, a feel for the works, and the trainer connections could lead you to some sort of play. But usually that is a race that I might pass or use in a pick 4, pick 3 play. So my first classification is no diamonds. It's based on diamond rating. So no diamond is no wager. It's not a race that I have an opinion on. It's not a race that I suggest you betting. So on a 10 race or 9 race card, I might have one of those where I just want to pass. Maybe I don't. Maybe I have a play in, every race to some level. but that's what no diamonds means. So then I have an average opinion. That's one diamond, and that's a small wager. I have a small opinion on the race. I don't want to pass it, but I also don't want to make a big bet on it. It's sort of an action wager. The next is the two diamond, which is a more serious opinion. That's your normal wager. If you're a $20 to $30 player with a big bet being $50, that would be like a $20 play. The one diamond would be like a $10 play. So then I have the strong opinion, and that's indicated by three diamonds. And every crystal ball, Wizard's crystal ball best bet, is a three diamond play. That's a more serious wager. So if $50 is your maximum play, that's a $50 play. And I usually have 3 to 4 crystal ball plays on every card. Now, the real special play, the play that I only release a couple times a meet. And actually, I've released one for Saturday, the first one of the meet. And that play is indicated, it's a 4 diamond play, and it's called the Diamond Scepter. And the Diamond Scepter is a play that's reserved for a play that I would make normally as a crystal ball best bet, which is a 3 diamond. But I up it to 4 diamonds because I saw a workout with my own eyes that caught my eye. I saw the horse in the barn. I talked to the trainer. There's a lot of different layers for me to establish a horse as a Diamond Scepter. More than half the meet has gone by and I have not had one. And on Saturday, I will have one. And that play is one that is a price, is one that if a $50 play is that's your comfort level for a solid play, I would suggest upping that and taking your shot for a score. I would say bet 75 or 100 on it. Take a shot. In life, you have to take a shot every once in a while. You get nowhere if you don't. And win or lose, you have the guts to step in. And that's the Diamond Scepter. So that's indicated on the sheet. All the diamonds for every race are indicated for each of the races on the card. So
can I just jump in so I can sort of summarize what you said? Because what I like is that you're sort of weighting your confidence level or how much value you think is in a race, and you had you could just pass the race, right? There's just nothing there. And it's one of the things I talk about in the book is don't be afraid to pass a race. You don't have to play every race. Then you had, maybe it's not a complete pass, but it's really not one you're going to make a serious wager. So you can, if you want to make an action play just to keep yourself occupied, that's the next level. And then you've got your sort of typical bet. That would be the next level. Then you have, a really strong bet would be, and those are the kind of the 4 main levels. And every once in a while, you've got like a special bet where you're confident and it's going to be a price. There's a lot of value. And that's the one maybe where you step out and even go beyond kind of your strong bet level. Is that a good summary of the different ways you rate those?
Correct. That's correct. There's 5 levels. They're indicated on the sheet. And like I said, the Diamond Scepter, this is the first one I have. I just got to feel it. Everything has to come together. And look, I'm not afraid to lose. You can't get ahead if you don't take your chance. You got to take a shot every once in a while. You can't have any fear. You have to have a confidence in your process. That's just what life is. It's not just horse racing. So yeah, that's how it is. And so now every race has a wagering strategy. I don't know what no 2 strategies are always the same. It could be a win bet. It could be exactas. Maybe I attack the trifectas. Maybe I see it as part of a double, a pick 3, a pick 4, a pick 5. I don't know until I have handicapped the race, made my selections, and then every race has a detailed write-up on how I see the race is being run. I talk about the horse. I talk about it could be anything I want to say that's important for the reader to know, to give them a clear picture of how I handicapped the race, why I made the selections I did, and why I put out the wager for that particular race. So every race has all of that. It has the post time, the race distance, the diamonds, the strength of conviction. It even has the conditions of the race, the distance, the purse, what wagers are offered. It has the wagering strategy, and it has a detailed commentary on the race. So that is why you do not need the daily racing form. You do not need a program. I double and triple check the program numbers so they're accurate. And for the beginner and even the novice, this is, the product for you. Now, I beta tested this. I presented this product to my son, who's a Division I basketball coach. And on Derby Day, he played for the University of Louisville when they won the national championship in 2013. He was on that team for Rick Pitino. He was actually a coach, a student manager at the time. And on Derby Day, him and all the players, and they get together and they go to the track for a Oaks and Derby, and probably about 30, 40 of them. And they bring their girlfriends, some of them. I printed out sheets for them and I said, here's the product. Tell me what you think at the end of the day. They had fun. They drank. They ate, hot dogs. They enjoyed their girlfriend or boyfriend, had a ton of fun. And all they had to do was pull out the sheet. They can have fun, pull out the sheet with 2 minutes to go, bet on their phone or go to the window. They never had to think of anything but have a fun day at the racetrack. And by the end of the day, I asked them how they liked it. They said they loved it. Even if one day I did okay, one day I didn't do okay, they didn't care. They were able to have a fun day. They were blitzed at the end of the day, which was, that was their fun. And hot dog stains and beer stains were on the sheet by the end of the day, but they couldn't care less. And so basically that's the new product. And I started it on my website at the beginning of the meet, which is wizardracingsports.com. And it began on the daily racing form yesterday, but it won't be fully rolled out on the daily racing form for another couple days until they work out the kinks. But on my website, it's been there from day one, and it has become extremely, extremely popular amongst players. So I'm very proud of this product. I love it. It's my final hurrah in the game, and I'm all in.
Well, one of the things you said that I really like was about your approach is that you do your analysis and you develop, how confident you are about the race and what your opinions are. And then you think about, okay, what wagers make sense given that, rather than trying to force fit, your opinion into a certain kind of wager approach every single race. So I really like the way you said that, I don't know what the bet's going to be until I, look at the race and the sequence of races. And I think that really makes a lot of sense. And that, that's something that a lot of people, they don't do that. They just always bet the same way no matter what, which really, no matter what their confidence level is on the race, and no matter, what their opinion is, they bet the same amount the same way every race. And what I like about your approach is that you look and say, okay, how strong is my opinion? How much value is there here? Where is the value? And what So should I bet this or not first? And then if so, how much should I be betting? And how should I bet it? Which pool should I attack? And you let your opinion, your evaluation of the race determine that rather than kind of having a fixed way of doing it. So I think, that's really a good approach to take. And that it's reflected in your product is good for the people who want to take advantage of that. That's the right way to go about it. And in my book, I talk about that quite a bit. How you want to make sure your betting reflects your opinion of the race. And never kind of try to avoid ever deviating away from that. And so that makes a lot of sense.
And the other thing, Chris, is, I didn't talk about how this sheet is good for somebody like yourself or Paul Matisse or any expert, because nobody knows everything. I don't care how good you are, right? So whether you follow Saratoga, a lot, or you follow it, somewhat, you don't know what I know, because I'm on the backstretch every day. There are things that I may be able to enlighten you with. Now, I'm not saying an expert should follow me. This sheet for an expert, you don't follow everything I say for every race. That's not the purpose of it. But let's say, because I'm giving you commentary on every race and structuring wagers, if you're playing a pick 4, pick 5, or even a pick 6, or a trifecta for that matter, I might have a horse that I talked about and used that you didn't think about. How many times you do a race, Chris, and you say, holy shit, how did I leave this horse out? Right? Well, maybe I enlighten you about a horse that you threw in and you used it and you cashed because of it. It paid for the price of the sheet. So it's for everybody. It's, look, I'm an expert. This is my life. And I also bet everything I give out, Chris, everything. Even if I see there's a bias and a horse may be affected by it that I picked. Now, I update this after late scratches, by the way. That's important to note, because I make adjustments in both the selections and the write-ups after late scratches. So I had a score for my customers 2 weeks ago, a major score on a pick of the day. I didn't even use the horse, Chris, in my top 4 selections prior to the scratches, because I thought he'd get into a vicious speed duel and collapse. You know what happened? The other speed scratched. He was loose on the lead for a low percentage barn. It was go day and score day. What happened? Got loose on the lead, wired the field comfortably, and paid $13 and keyed an exacta that paid like $60. Now, that horse wasn't even on my sheet, let alone being the pick of the day. That's the beauty of adjusting these selections and wagers after late scratches. It takes me some time. Sometimes if there's a bunch of scratches and races are off the turf, it could take me a good 45 minutes. But I started about 10:20 Eastern, about maybe 2 hours before first post. So it's filed no later than an hour before first post. So that's the beauty of the product. Real time, late decisions based on scratches. But I bet every race I give out. There's not a race that I don't bet. And you know why I do that, Chris? Because if I am going to give out a bet for people to bet their hard-earned money on, I'm going down with you or we're winning together. We're doing it together. And that's the integrity of the product. I don't bullshit. I don't hide things. I bet my own money on everything I give out. We win together, we lose together. And the final thing I want to say about this new product is that I've created a brand new play. And it's to have you engaged throughout the day. I bet it. I bet it myself because it's fun. It's a low risk, high reward play. It's a fun play. It's called the Wizard's Place Parlay Play of the Day. And what that means is I give anywhere between 3 to 5 horses on the card that we parlay one race into the other unless we are done. So, for instance, let's say $10 is your play. You bet $10 on the first place play of the day. You win your money. You take all that money, you put it on the second play, which may be race 4. So, just for an example, you win that, you take your money, all the money you got back, and you play it on race 6. If the final leg, it's a 4-horse place parlay, is in race 10, you're betting all the money you won in the first 3 legs into the race 10. The object is to let it roll. Now, it's funny, Chris, there was a day this meet, I had a 4-horse place parlay, and one of them paid $8 to place, the third one, and I bet $100. That's my wager. When I got to the 8th race, when I got to the last leg of the pick 4, the place parlay of the 4 races, I was betting $1,150 on that place bet in the final leg. Now, was I tempted to take my original 100 out to say I broke even? I have to say yes, but I didn't. I let the $1,150 roll on a 4-to-1 shot in a 12-horse field. And he got in all kinds of trouble and finished 3rd, beaten 2nd by a neck. That return from that $100 bet, I had over $2,000 coming back to me. So I lost, but I only lost that original $100 play. So that's a play that I made to keep you engaged through the day. It's more of a novice beginner play. It's just a fun play that, hey, if you hit all 4, I got 5 horses rolling today. Man, that parlay could amount to a lot of money.
Well, that's a good lead. I mean, you said a lot of things that are kind of applicable to this podcast. I mean, the podcast is sort of, we can't go and update after late scratches, but the whole idea is maybe to get you thinking a little bit differently about a race or a horse that you maybe wouldn't have done without listening to the podcast. Sort of like reading through your comments and maybe triggering thinking about a horse differently or a race differently. That's the same thing we're going to try to do on the podcast. So let's do it. We're going to talk about 4 races, the last 4 on Saturday, 2 stakes races, two other races 9 through 12. And you can kind of give us a sense for how you look at these races and what your opinions are. And at the end, you said you're gonna recommend pick 4 for the race. So we'll talk about that, and maybe you can kind of mention it as we go through. But we're going to start with the 9th race. It's the Grade 1 Christophe Clement Turf Stakes, 1.5 miles on the turf for older horses. It's not a big field, but it's really solid, top to bottom field. The favorite on the morning line is a 6-horse Minaret Station, but the 4 Program Trading and also the 3 Old Crazy Bone, probably all 3 of those horses, maybe even the 5 Fort George might vie for favoritism. What are you thinking in this race? Are you going to lead on one of those? You're looking elsewhere. What do you think about this race?
Well, let's break this race down, okay? Horse by horse. From the rail, you have a shipper from England, Ancient Egypt. This is the lone 3-year-old in the race. And because it's a 3-year-old, it's getting weight from its elders. Now, the only one it's not getting weight from is a 5-year-old, the 7 Survey, who is a filly. So it's the lone filly in the field, and Ancient Egypt is the lone 3-year-old. So Ancient Egypt gets in with 120. Now that's like a feather to him because he's been toting weight from 128 to as high as 137. Now, this horse is trained by Charlie Johnston, and his father, he's the son of Mark Johnston. Mark Johnston is the winningest trainer in in history of English racing, British racing. He has over 5,000 wins. He also has one of the most prestigious barns or stables in England. So this Charlie Johnston has great pedigree as far as horsemanship. This horse also has a great pedigree. He's by Frankel, who is probably the top sire in the world. He stands for 471,000. So if you want your mare pregnant by Frankel, you're paying 471 if you have a live pregnancy. That's quite a bit of shekels. And the dam line is great too. This horse ran a great race last time out in the Grand Prix de Paris at Longchamp. He was stalking a Michael Tabor horse that had quality, put that one away. In deep stretch, he was challenged from both sides. He never gave an inch, but he was run down in the late stages, right in the shadow of the wire by Maltese Cross. It was an excellent effort. This is his 5th race of the year, which is a lot by European standards with 8 months into the year. They're coming in here because they want to get a grade 1. I think this horse on paper fits extremely well. He's got the rail. The rider, David Egan, flies in for the mount. But he's a 3-year-old against older, and he raced July 14th, so it's about a month layoff shipping in, but he wouldn't ship in if he didn't think he had the goods to be competitive. So he's a major player in here. Tawny Port, it's Miguel Clement. Now, last week, they had the National Hall of Fame stakes, and they inducted Miguel's father, Christophe Clement, into the Hall of Fame. And what happened? Botas, trained by Miguel Clement, won the Hall of Fame. How about that? Now he's back on Christophe Clement, grade 1 race, which they changed to the Christophe Clement. And Miguel has Tawny Port in here. Ran very well at 2 miles last time out, cuts back to 1.5 miles. By the way, Ancient Egypt's race in the Grand Prix de Paris was at 1.5 miles. Tawny Port ran at 2 miles last time out. He's attempted 1.5 miles or 10 times in his career without a win, but he's run in the money 5 times. He's 2 for 3 at Saratoga. Hard not to use this horse. If anything, it's Miguel for his father on the father's grade 1 stake day. Old Crazy Bone wired the field last time as the favorite for Mike Maker. And Irad won't be riding this horse because he's injured. He won't be back for Saturday. But Pratt gets off this horse to ride program trading for Chad Brown. Old Crazy Bone is once again going to be a pace presence here. He's got to go a little further. He's going to be well back because of his win last time out. He's 1 for 1 at Saratoga. Flying P stable owns the horse. Flying P is all out to win the owner's title this meet. So they do everything they can to get wins. This horse, I think, is a minor player, not a major player, because I think the added distance in a tougher spot, I think last race was his day. And I don't want him today on Saturday at 7-2. That's what he's going to be, 4-1, 7-2, after he was 7-5 last time out. I think he's vulnerable at the distance. Program trading, post 4, goes for his 3rd straight. It's Chad Brown for Klarovich. Klarovich is certainly one of the major players to win the owner title at the meet. This horse is getting well backed. He's 7-2 on the morning line. He's a second choice behind Minaret Station. Program trading, to me, is going to be over bet. I think he's vulnerable at the distance. He's never gone beyond 1 3/8. He did win the United Nations at a grade 2 at Monmouth. This is a far tougher task for him. He's going to be odds that, to me, is the type of horse you want to look to beat, because he's going to attract a lot of money, and I personally think he's vulnerable. The number 5, Fort George, beaten in nose by Old Crazy Bone, chased up close to that rival. He was shipping in, making his first start in the U.S. He stayed here, did not ship back, obviously, because they're not going to do that if they have this race penciled in. He ran well enough to give him another whirl in a race like this. He worked well on August 10th and on August 1st. I liked his race better than I did Old Crazy Bone. And for that matter, I liked it a little better than Minaret Station. He chased, he almost wore down Old Crazy Bone, but I loved the way he galloped out past the wire. He was full of vigor. He kept running. I like his chances here, too. He's a contender. Minaret Station, breaking from post 6, closed well to be beaten a half a length. With any further improvement, if he handles the distance, he certainly is a player here. He's the favorite. I think in pick 4s, I would certainly use him. I used him on my ticket, but I think he's another one that's going to be a bit over bet. And Servy was my top pick for Michael Tabor and George Bohe, the trainer. He was in a good spot in the Glen Falls to win at this distance. He faced her own sex that day. She's now outside facing males. I think this is a tougher task. I think last time was the day. But she's 1-for-1 at Saratoga. She gets a weight edge because of being a filly. But I think last time was her day, and I'm going to look to beat her in this spot. So basically, my major contenders here are the 1, Ancient Egypt, the 2, Tawny Port, the 5, Fort George, and the 6, Minaret Station. I'm going to look to beat Old Crazy Bone and the horse that's going to be well back, Program Trading, and I'm going to look to beat the filly Survey. If the horse that I prefer slightly over the other 3 is the 1, Ancient Egypt. The rail, having tactical speed, a good connections, great pedigree. I think any replication of that Grand Prix de Paris, even though it was against straight 3-year-olds, I think the price is going to be there. The risk reward is there. I'm going to lean a little bit towards the 1, Ancient Egypt, with Fort George 2nd, Minaret Station 3rd, and Tawny Port 4th. So that's how I see the Christophe Clement.
Yeah, we're in alignment quite a bit. I agree. For me, I like Ancient Egypt in here. The big question is he's a 3-year-old. It's only August, a little early for the 3-year-olds to be taking on the good older horses. But I think he's the most talented horse in the field. He's just a little less mature. And so the question is, is he that much more talented that he can beat them even this early in the year as a 3-year-old? But a couple things that I will say about that horse that gives me confidence. One is it's a really, really good horse breaking from the gate. I watched the replays, and this horse pops the gate every time. And that's big for these Euros coming in the U.S. Doesn't always translate. The gates are a little different, environment's different. But this horse really sharp from the gate. it has speed, but it'll settle. In fact, in several of its races, it's broke on top. Another horse rushed up, and the rider just let that horse rush up past it, and then was content to sit off and kind of stalk the pace. So it can break alertly, which is important, I think, from the rail. But I think it could easily be either on the lead or stalking, a horse like Old Crazy Bone, and very comfortably. I would love it if they would push the pace a little on this horse, because I like Euros in these longer races because they're better stayers. They just have more stamina. That's what they're bred for. And if you go quick, that stamina comes into play. If they dawdle early and come flying home late, it doesn't really give you a big advantage to have more staying power. The Euros, there's kind of two types of Euros. There's the stayers that go a mile and a half, and their big advantage is just they are better going longer. And then the milers in Europe, they just tend to be faster finishers. But that's a horse like Ancient Egypt. That's not its advantage. It's not going to outkick these horses big time, but it will finish, and I think it's going to be close. And like you said, it's been very game in its last two races. It hasn't gotten the win, but it really has done a lot of it was on the lead, battling for the lead throughout the stretch, and both of those didn't really have a breather at all in either. And it was a Group 1 race. It was against 3-year-olds, but anyway, so I'm with you there. I'm a little nervous about the price, though. I'm not I know it's 5-1 on the morning line, like the fifth choice. But I just a little bit nervous that off its European form that might get bet down. But I'm with you there. And I kind of agree with most everything you said about the other horses. I think you summed it up pretty well. I'm not quite as confident that Tawny Port. Sentimentally, I see that, but I just don't think that horse is capable of winning this race. Maybe it can hit the board. Maybe that's kind of what you were hinting at. But I that's maybe one horse in the race I would be a little surprised if it won. But the rest of the field, they're all legit horses that could run well in here. And they all have some pluses and minuses, and I think you summed them up pretty well. So I think we're both on hoping, for Ancient Egypt to get the job done from the rail. And the question for me is just, is he ready to take on the elders at this early stage? It's a little bit early. Another month or two, I think he would definitely be ready for this kind of race, but we'll see. We'll see.
I'd like to chime in and say that I disagree with you about August with this horse being not mentally or physically mature enough at this time, because he's already had 4 really good races. He's battle hardened, right? These horses in Europe, they get these horses ready to, perform at the highest level in their training. So I think he's ready if he's good enough. I don't think his maturity is relevant in this spot. But what is relevant that we didn't touch on is something that reminds me of a best bet of the day that I made last Saturday. I made Glacius the best bet of the day in the Saratoga Derby. And the reason I did, he was another Euro shipper from Hugo Palmer. And I knew that horse was going to show speed. Whether she was going to get the top or not, I wasn't sure. But why some of these Euro horses are coming to the United States and racing at Saratoga and not Del Mar. They would go to Del Mar, but they're coming to Saratoga hoping for firmer turf, and they're getting it. And these Euros, like Glacius and Ancient Egypt, who have tactical speed, they've been relishing the firmer turf course here. And that's going to bode well for the Breeders' Cup. Hopefully it's at Keeneland, but imagine if it's at Keeneland, so you never know. But a lot of those horses went to Del Mar last year because they knew they were getting firm turf. So the firmer, the better for some of these type of Euro horses that have speed or tactical speed.
Yeah, just one thing to clarify. When I say maturity, I mean physically. He's only an August 3-year-old. He's not fully mature. He's going to get bigger and stronger. That's what I meant. And this time of year, they get bigger and stronger pretty quickly. It's still kind of early, especially for the turf routers. They tend to peak maybe later in their 5-year-old year. So he's going to be much better in 6 months or a year or even a few months. That's all I meant.
That's a given, but I don't think that's a reason not to, like him in this spot. I think my main concern is that he's coming back on 1 month shipping across the country and shipping from, one part of the world to the other. That's a little bit of a concern. And he's had, he's had 4 races, but he's battle hardened. And these connections are too good. They want this is a beautifully bred horse for Ammo Racing, who pays a lot of money for horses. They want this grade 1. They're all in on this race. Whether he's good enough or not, that's the question.
Yeah, and that's the question. But I think if this race were run in 3 months or 6 months, he would win. I'd be very confident he'll be, because I think his ceiling is he still hasn't gotten up to a ceiling. Question is, to me, since he hasn't run against older horses, I just don't know. There's no real comparable form lines and stuff. I'm just not sure if he's good enough now. But we'll find out. And if he's 5-1, I think it's worth betting to find out. If he gets bet down
4-1, I think the right price on this horse would be 4 to 5 to 1 to take a shot.
Yeah, 4-1 is borderline for me, but at 5-1, I could make a play on it for sure.
To me, 4-1, 5-1. I wouldn't bet lower than 4-1, but now you're cutting straws. And you don't have to play him to win if you don't like the win price. You hook him up in something else. But if he's 4-1 and you don't want to pass the play if you have an opinion. You just structure maybe a different type of play. Now, in his defense, and what he gets is weight. Look, this horse has been toting 130, 128, 129, 128, 128, 128, 137, 133. He's in with a feather, 120. That's big.
Well, yeah, and he should get a ground saving trip. He breaks well, and he's got early speed, so he should be able to save ground. So that's worth something too. So yeah, that could make up for anything he lacks in physical maturity. But we'll see. It's always about the price. I was a little surprised that he was 5-1 in the morning line. I expected to be shorter. I'm still a little nervous about that. But David Arizona is pretty good at the morning line.
Have a nice scotch, nice stiff one before the race.
All right, let's move on to the next leg, the other stakes race in the sequence. That's the 10th race, the Galway Stakes, 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-old fillies. In this race, the 6, I think Mauna Loa is how you would say that. 3-1 the morning line. Off of that big win on the synth, I have a feeling that horse is going to get bet down lower than 3-1. I think that will be a strong favorite. Are you liking the 6 horse, or are you going to try to beat the 6 horse? What do you think about this 10th race?
I respect the 6. How could you not? I mean, the horse is trained by Mark Casse. Mark Casse is great in these situations. The horse has speed. It's 2 turf races. He won his debut last year at Woodbine on a good turf course, then came back, broke from post 10. He was, went out to a 6-length lead. It was off a layoff. He obviously got spent in the late stages of the race and tired to be 8th. But then he whistled in her last race on synthetic, benefited from, clear lead early, set all the pace. No one went with her. She won by 9. Now she's back on the turf. Look, you're going to get a better rider than who's been riding her in all 3 races. Speed is always dangerous, especially over a firm turf course at this distance. Had a big work on the turf on August 7th. is likely. There is quite a bit of speed in this race. You have the one Gerard's Cross speed. You have Triskelion outside of Mauna Loa, and then you have Mythical who has speed. But I think the 6 is the speed of the speeds and probably gets the lead here with an alert start. To me, it's a contender in the exotics. Would I put her on top? No. It's not my kind of horse because it's going to be over bet off the big figure win on synthetic. So can she win? Obviously. Will I put her on top? No, because I think she's going to get over bet.
So who are you going to put on top?
Well, I mean, you have the major player. I want a horse that's going to sit a trip, not be too far back, but could finish. Now, there's 3 horses that fit that description. That's the 3 Oscars Encore, trained by Joe Sharp. His stablemate, Queen Juno, also trained by Sharp. And Cadenza, trained by Brad Cox. All 3 have that stalk and pounce running style. Queen Juno, the concern is coming back on short rest, 14 days. And I think the horse, this is a step up in class. Cadenza, Cadenza's okay. It's 7-2 morning line, probably going to be 3-1, going to be under the morning line at post time. He's a consistent horse. He's from a great barn and, a premier owner and breeder, Stone Street. I think they're all in for this race on Saturday. But my top pick is going to be Oscars Encore. Won its debut at Saratoga last year. Had a sneaky, tough, good trip at Kentucky Downs in a stake. Those purses are incredible. This one was almost $1 million. Was chasing solid fractions up and down the hills at Kentucky Downs. Was inside, was sort of lacking room in the last eighth of a mile, was pinned to the hedge, still ran well. I don't know what happened in the Cup and Saucer at Woodbine, may have bled, something else might have happened, who knows, but was laid off by Sharp, came back on July 3rd, going 5.5 furlongs, dueled through very quick fractions, should have folded based on how that pace played out, but still won by a length. First time Lasix, doesn't get Lasix for a stake race, but won its debut on Lasix. I think this horse could sit a little bit. I think it could stalk. I think there's upward mobility on this horse. I love Joe Sharp with improving lightly raced horses. I think this horse is going to be a decent price. And Jose Ortiz, who was on both wins, and both wins were at Saratoga over this course and distance. I think that's in her favor. And I think the price will be there. I don't think she's going to be 6-1. I think she's going to be more like 4 or 5-1. But that's my selection to win the Galway.
Yeah, again, we're on the same horse, Oscars Encore. Again, though, I'm a little worried about that price. Like you said, the 2 races at Saratoga were wins. It comes off second off the layoff, off a nice, comeback effort at Saratoga. Jose Ortiz riding. So I'm afraid that there's a lot to like about that horse. I mean, if it's sprinting, it's never lost. And like you said, that one route race at Kentucky Downs, there was nothing wrong with that effort. Probably is better sprinting anyway. And then, that Woodbine effort, if you look at the race, the horses that were running first, second, and third at the start all got eased at the wire that day. I think they just went brutally fast, and something might have went wrong too, because we got laid up. But So I think there's excuses for the route races, and they were route races. And so, I just have a feeling that horse could get bet down well below that 6-1. But 6-1, clearly a play for me. I'm with you. And I pretty much don't agree with most of what you said about the rest of the field. I think there's other contenders in here. I think it's hard to toss anybody in this race, but I kind of with you that Mauna Loa is probably the speed horse you want to that's most likely to win of the speed, but a horse like Oscar's Encore might get that nice trip sitting in the pocket and then getting a clear run and late to run down the leaders.
Yeah, I mean, look, I make Oscar's Encore 7-2 in this spot to 4-1, not 6-1. That's the price I put in my head.
I have him a little bit higher on my line, but I'm not quite as confident. But he's the most likely winner for me, or he and Mauna Loa are about equal on my line. So,
okay.
All right, good. So, and let's move on then to the third leg. Now we're out of the stakes realm, and we're into the other races. This one is the 11th race. It's starter allowance going a mile on the dirt for 3-year-olds and up, New York bred horses. So these are this is a bread and butter kind of race. These aren't my kind of races. The morning line favorite probably will be the favorite, especially off the claim for Linda Rice, is the 2 Calling Card. Are you going to lean on Calling Card? You can try to beat Calling Card. What are you thinking about this race?
Well, I think this race has a lot of speed. You want a horse, you want horses that are going to stalk or close. Calling Card is the type of horse I look to beat. But I'm using, I have pick 4 play structured. So, that horse is definitely the horse to beat and the deserving favorite. Any replication of that last race wins this race. Linda Rice has started off the meet pretty slow and has really heated up. And this is the type of horse that she wins with. So major player. I think the 6 Takahama at 12-1 is interesting. Michelle Giangiulio used to win with these type of claims. She doesn't have a lot of stock, but she did win for 10 strike a lot several years ago, or not, maybe a couple years ago, even maybe last year. I like the claim, the layoff, new gelding, second time Lasix, big rider switch, sits the type of trip that fits the profile of this race. He's on my ticket at a price. Come Full Circle is, 1 for 14, fits the profile of this race. Back in a mile, back on a dry track, getting Pratt aboard. That is Franco, who rode this horse the last 3 times, is staying on Calling Card, which is another reason Calling Card is definitely a major player here. But having Pratt as a substitute is just fine. And then Sociable Johnny, the other Rice off the claim. Any improvement over the second place finish puts this horse in the mix. Lascano is back aboard. Lascano is having a nightmare meet. He's probably has horror dreams in his sleep because, as of our speaking, is like almost 0 for 80 at the meet. That's not Lascano. Lascano is tons better than what his record is. He's going to win at some point. And Linda Rice is keeping him on a couple horses. She's taken him off a lot of horses, but they have had a long relationship together. I'm sure she wants to put him on a winner. I'm not so sure this is the one, but I would include him in one of my pick 4 plays. So those are my 4 horses I would use.
Yeah, on Lascano, it has gotten his head. He's not riding very well, but I agree with you. It's the point now where everyone's just going to fade everything he rides, and he's a pretty good rider. So I'm going to start looking to play him, find a place to play him. I don't think this is the race, but I am kind of like itching to find a race where I think he's on a horse that could win, because you're probably going to get a little built-in bonus because of the miserable meeting he's having so far. But I don't think it's this race. To me, Calling Card looks really strong in here. So that would be the heavy lean. I would never bet this race, but if I were going to play the pick 4 or picks, I would probably just single Calling Card. But I agree with you that Come Full Circle is probably the main threat. But if Calling Card doesn't run, any of them could win. It's one of those kind of races. It's interesting that you mentioned Takahama. I actually saw that horse a couple weeks ago. I was with Marshall Graham. He's 10 strike. He's part of the 10 strike, and we were in the barn, and I saw that horse. I don't know if he's going to win this race, but I'll be cheering for him because I always cheering for the 10 strike horses. But the way I see the race pretty much like you did. I don't. Again, you and I have been kind of on the same page on all these races.
Well, idiots are alike,
Yeah. We'll find out if that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go to the payoff leg then. The final race in the sequence, the 12th race. It's one of these maiden claimers. This one's 1 16th miles on the turf for 3-year-old up New York breds. There's always a race like this at the end of every, New York card. So if you want to get paid off, you got to figure out how to play these races. This is a sort of a crazy wide open race. The favorites are the 1 Before the Wind and the 8 Gilbane. Neither one seemed to stand out in here to me anyway. Are you going to try to beat them? What are you looking at in this final payoff leg?
This is a spread race for me in the pick 4. I mean, I can make a case for several horses in here. No particular preference. If Gilbane broke inside a little more, I'd like him more than I do, because that was a good race off the layoff and first time Lasix and dropping, to Maiden 50 from, last time he was before the layoff was in for 75. That was a good race. But I'm worried about being hung out wide into the first turn and onto the backstretch as the favorite. The Amelia Green horses are running well of late. But, certainly can win this race, but, it's not the kind of race I'm stepping in betting with both hands. The 1 Before the Wind, first time for a tag. He's had 10 races to break his maiden, has the rail, has Jose Ortiz. All those ingredients, could add up to his first maiden win, his breakthrough as maiden. We're seeing horses like this winning this meet. I saw, 1 for 25 horses winning. They catch the right spot and the right pace setup, get the right ride from a good rider. They can get the job done. But that's not my kind of horse to lean on. DC Boys off a layoff of Mike Maker, stretching out first time for a tag. Maker does well with these types of horses. It's Flying P. Santana's on. He's aggressive. So maybe this horse being from post 3 is a little bit more forwardly placed. Then you have, Lobbyist, if he runs back to his race 3 back, beating a nose, certainly could win. He was a bit disappointing in his last 2 starts, so he's a little bit of a question mark. Surfside Dan, first-time starter for James Bond. Bond won with a firster going 2 turns early in the meet. I have a lot of respect for Bond. I had him on my show with his wife, Tina. He finally has some stock to work with. He hasn't had that in the last few years. It's interesting to note the owner of Surfside Dan is Mark O'Keefe. Do you know who that is, Chris?
I don't know who that is. No.
Mark O'Keefe was the bugler for many years at Naira.
Okay.
He owns this horse, and who knows? This is the type of race that the tote board gets blown up, right? The last race on the card. You never
Yeah,
know.
definitely. Definitely. This race is, I wouldn't be shocked to see any of them win it for sure.
The 10 $5 for socks. Can't discount an Oscar performance for West Point on a Saturday with Miguel Clement training, right? You can't. This horse is out of, from a turf sire, a street cry mare. It's a tough post, but you got Pratt on, right? Who knows? Miguel Clement wins going 2 turns with debut runners, right? 28%. How could you not include that one for the West Point boys?
Although they did pay 220,000 for the horse, and he's in for 50 on debut. That's usually not a good sign.
That's not a good sign, but would you want this horse to beat you on the pick 4 ticket?
I'd let it beat me on the pick 4 ticket. If it was any good, I don't think it'd be in this race. Especially, what do you think about debuting at 11 furlongs too? That's
Clement wins with these types.
yeah. I'll let him beat me in this race.
Okay, well, if he does win and you lose, you'll be.
Yeah, well, he's not like he's gonna be a big price. He's 5-1 in the morning line.
It doesn't matter. The price is irrelevant if you're playing a pick 4. It's who you're throwing in that can win. And if you decide this horse has no shot, then leave him off at your own peril. But it's Clement and West Point, and maybe this is what the horse is worth. Maybe they just he's a gelding, so maybe they get away with no one's claiming the horse. Who knows? Pratt's aboard, good connections, enough for me to throw him in on my ticket.
So this is a spread race. You didn't sound like you had like a strong opinion.
I do not.
Yeah. I would just say DC Boys is probably the one I'm the most interested in here. Super ouchy horse, but they haven't ever. I think it's a turf router. It hasn't really ever had a chance to do that. One time it was entered on the turf, and its second start after a prep, it caught an off track. Not sure why they didn't try to run it on. Oh, and then the other 2 races it ran, there were no turf racing at the time. They brought it back to fairgrounds for a prep. Unfortunately, something went wrong after that prep and didn't get back to the races for a while because it's definitely an ouchy horse. Actually had a vet scratch, I think, a few months ago. But now if they finally get it to the track and into the gate and it runs going long on the turf, I think, especially given the trainer, this horse is really live. And it's 10-1 in the morning line, and it's a horse that probably doesn't have a lot of races in it, so they want to make sure it's ready to roll. They're not giving it any preps this time. They're just going to try to win right off the bat. So that's the one I'm interested in. Not super confident, but at 10-1 in this field, that one's got me interested. But I don't have a strong opinion beyond that in here either. It just seems really wide open to me. My only opinion is I wouldn't take a short price on a horses like, Gilbane certainly could win, but, it's not really any faster than any of these. And it's already, took the drop last time and didn't get the job done. But maybe it needed the race. But like you said, it may not get a great trip from that outside post on the inner turf course. Doesn't, it's short run to that first turn. And then the inside horse before the win, it is making the drop here. So you would think, first time drop and from the rail, it's kind of live. But again, it's never run any races that lay over this field or anything. So, for me, this would be a race where I'd be trying to beat the favorites. And also the Miguel Clement horse, to me, that's the kind of horse I want to beat. Now, if the horse is, opens up at 4-5 or something, then I would be a little worried. But I think it's probably going to get bet down to 5-1, but just because of the training and breeding and connections. And to me, it just I can't play a horse like that where they're they're running it for 50,000 and they paid 220,000 for it. That's just unless it's a big price, but it won't be.
Okay.
All right. So we went through all 4 of the races, and you had a spread race at the end. You got a couple of opinions in the other sequence. You said you came up with a couple pick 4 recommendations. Why don't you give those to the listeners?
Well, we start in race 9. So I'm using on ticket 1. It's a 50-cent play. It's $60. And this is the type of sequence, if you're right and you can, catch some long ones in there, it could be a good payout. So I'm using 4 horses in race 9, 1, 2, 5, 6. And the one horse that I'm leaving out is a horse that's going to get bet. Well, 2 horses I'm leaving out are going to get bet. The 3 Old Crazy Bone and the 4 Program Trading. So I'm using 1, 2, 5, 6. And in the 10th race, I'm using 3, 5, 6. In the 11th race, I'm using 2, 6, being 6 Takahama at a price. And in the last leg, which I'm spreading, I'm using, because I could see any of these horses winning, 1, 3, 7, 8, 10. So it's 1, 2, 5, 6 with 3, 5, 6 with 2, 6 with 1, 3, 7, 8, 10. That's a $60 play for 50 cents. But then I'm coming back with a $20 play for a 50-cent wager. 1, 5, I'm narrowing down race 9 to my 2 preferred selections, which is Ancient Egypt, the 1, and the 5, Fort George. I'm going to single the 3 Oscars Encore in race 9. And then I'm using 4 horses in race 11. I'm using the 2, 6, 7, and 8, hoping I can beat Calling Card on that ticket. And in the last leg, using the 5 I gave out, 1, 3, 7, 8, 10. So hopefully, either the 1 or 5 wins the 9th, or single the 3, Oscars Hope wins race 10, and we could possibly cash 2 tickets, both tickets, if that scenario happens.
So it looked like for a minute I thought you were just pressing horses you liked in that second leg, but then you added 2 horses on the second ticket. On the third leg, you added 2 horses.
That's correct, because I've narrowed down. My strongest opinions are in the first 2 legs.
Okay. So you said if you're right about those 2, then you spread a little bit more because you figure you're going to get paid.
Looking to beat the 2, because that would make that ticket good.
So why not leave the 2 off of that second ticket?
That leave who?
Leave the 2 off of the second ticket.
I want that because I think the 2 is the horse to beat, and I want to. If the 2, I'm not negative on the 2, so I want the 2. It doesn't cost that much to put him in and can't try to cash on both tickets.
Well, the reason I said that was it says that you're hoping to beat the 2, so why not just play a ticket where you're beating the 2?
Because it doesn't cost very much more to add him in to try to cash on both tickets. That's what I'm saying. It's only a few.
All right, so let me just read it back so the listeners can make sure they get this. The first ticket is $60 total. It's 50 cent is the minimum play on the pick 4. You can always play more. It's 1, 2, 5, 6 with the 3, 5, 6 with the 2, 6 with the 1, 3, 7, 8, 10. And then you're going to come back with a second ticket. You recommend at $20 total, and it's 1, 5 with 3 with 2, 6, 7, 8 with the 1, 3, 7, 8, 10 again.
Yep. That's it.
And you're really hoping to, on that front end where you have your stronger opinions, if you can be right on those first two legs, then you got a chance to cash both tickets and maybe catch some prices on the back end.
Well, think about it. If the one of the five wins race 9, and the 3 wins race 10, and the 2, let's say, is beaten by one of the 3 other horses, let's say, right?
Right.
Alive for a really good ticket, because the 9th race, is wide open. I mean, and the 8th, the favorite, doesn't have to win, doesn't have any appreciable edge over the rest. So we have a chance for a good payout.
Yeah, I see what you're thinking. Yeah, for me, if I was just going to make a little small play, I like your 1-5 in the first leg. In fact, I probably just would play the 1 in the first leg, and I would probably play the 3 and the 6 in the second leg, just in case Mauna Loa does run back to that last race. So I'd have I'd probably play the 3, and then the 6 would be like a backup, and then I would be leaning more on the 3 in that one, and then I would just single the 2. I'm not going to try to beat that one. Might get beat, but if it gets beat, I lose. And then in the last race, I would be spreading, but just with the long shots. I wouldn't include the favorites. So I would probably play the 3 DC Boys, the 4 Osiris Law, the 5 Lobbyist, the 6 Photo, and the 9 Mo Curls. So those are all 5 long shots. That's probably the most I'd ever spread. But I'd be really tight in the rest. So I'd probably play like a 1 with a 3-6 with a 2 with that spread in the last leg. That's how I'd play it, and it would just be a small bet.
Right.
I don't love the sequence.
Okay, that's what makes horse racing.
Yeah, and that's where you can, and that's where listening to us on this show, whoever's listening probably already has some of their own opinions. Now they can say, did we persuade them to maybe to downgrade certain horses or upgrade others, and then they can figure out what makes sense to bet based on their updated opinion. Right. I would never suggest to people just play what I suggest. For one reason, they know things I don't know, or have opinions that I don't have, and the other is it's just more fun to at least have it be partly your opinion, right? You feel like you own the bet more than if you're just playing what someone else tells you to play. Right. Makes it more fun, much more rewarding as a horse player. To get that real horse player high, you have to kind of feel like it's your opinion that you're betting, not somebody else's.
Yeah. Well, the professionals you have on all have something important to say, so you don't have to listen to them entirely, but you might, glean something from something they say, and be open to that. Be open to that. We all, me, you, everybody else, we don't know everything, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Put the ego aside, listen, take what you want from it. And, remember, there's a line from Color of Money, great line, that Paul Newman says, money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Yeah, I actually have that on my wall.
See?
It was a great line. It is. Yeah, and I mean, I would say listen to them. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everything they say or do whatever they say, but listen to them, because you can learn from listening. That's the point I think you made that I totally agree with, is have an open mind, listen, and then integrate what you hear, whatever think about it, and then if what they say resonates in any way, then kind of reformulate your opinion, just add on to it. But don't blindly listen to what people say, and don't ignore everything everybody says. You want to listen, but listen in a discerning fashion. I mean, that was the one thing I got out of graduate school and college. The most important thing I thought was just that you need to listen, but don't just blindly accept everything you hear. Be critical in your thinking, but have an open mind, and learning that balance between having an open mind, listening to new ideas, but also being critical about how you evaluate them. So you don't want to just believe everything you hear, but you don't want to ignore everything you hear. It's that balance. And as a horse player, it's the same way. You got to figure out, you want to be listening, but you want to figure out how to use that information in a way that helps, doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I could add to that, Chris. Um, you know, being in the game as long as I have, I always like to ask questions to people whose opinions I respect. And, I know who those people are. They're not going to bullshit me. Uh, and I can learn from them. I ask the right questions, and that's what's important. And the other thing that I tell everybody is never listen to anybody that doesn't bet their own money. Because you got to be in the game financially, right? Your money's down, right? There's a lot of people that I know, especially some public handicappers or some idiots on social media that just talk, talk, talk. And they're not betting. I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. If you have an opinion, back it up with real cash, because no opinion backed up by cash is a bad opinion, because you're putting your money on the line. So those are two things that, like, advices that I have, right? I really do feel that way.
Yeah, and I agree. And when you inform your own opinion based on what you gather and hear, but make sure when you bet it's consistent with your opinion. That's the other thing. So, but I totally agree. And and keep learning, because the game keeps changing. You got to evolve. That's another theme from my book. Is even if you're successful, your edges are going to fade over time, and you have to be looking for that next edge. So you have to constantly evolve and adapt.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm already planning for the synthetic surface at Belmont, starting to think of the type of horses I want to claim for the meet. The configuration on the turf courses are different. So there's a learning curve there. And I'm going to attack it full force. I'm not afraid of it. I tread lightly until I have that I have a feeling for it, of course. But I'm not backing away from it. I'm attacking it. So, by doing that, I'm going to have an edge at some point.
Yeah, and that's a great example where a lot of the edges come from are when there's a change. And it's a great example. The new Belmont, especially with the synthetic, it's a big change. And if you can get out ahead of people, you can exploit that and find an edge. You can exploit it. It's going to evaporate over time because everyone's going to figure it out eventually. But if you can be ahead of the curve, you can make money. I mean, a great example of that was when Keeneland went to the poly track, and it took a while after a while people figured it out, but you basically could not win on the lead, and turf horses were running better than dirt horses typically, not always, and closers had a big advantage over the front runners. And if you figured that out early, you could make a killing on that. Now, eventually everyone caught up, and everyone knew that the turf horses tended to adapt to the synth, and the closers had the advantage. But early on, it wasn't so obvious. And if you were, looking for those things and got out in front, you could exploit that. And that's a great example.
Yeah, I have money in the account here to claim, and I've put in a claim once. It was a $50,000 claim, and you've got to think outside the box. You've got to go, when everybody goes one way, don't go that way. If you're going to make a move for money, and I'm talking big money, when I'm going in for 50K, I don't want to be in a 12-way shake and hope to win a lottery. I want to claim something that nobody's looking at, something obscure, something that, is not obvious to the public eye. And this particular claim I made, Chris, was really funny because it was a mismanaged horse that went off at 30-1. But I had a reason to claim this horse because I was going to do something that this trainer never did. But it was obvious that the trainer should have done it. And what are the chances of a 30-1 horse in an outside post in a 2-turn turf race? There's going to be a shake. Like 1%. I dropped the slip. Guess who I lost the shake to?
Linda Rice.
Richard Duttrow.
Okay.
Richard Duttrow. A 30-1 shot that, come on, man. Even here on something obscure, the wizard couldn't even cash, right? There's always someone on a trail, right? There's a scent. And Richard Duttrow was on the scent, right? So that's another lesson. When everybody talks about something, kind of go the other way because, it's the horse is usually going to be over-bet or it's going to be in the claiming game, 15 people in for it, and you're winning a lottery.
Yeah, well, that's true. By definition, to get an edge, you have to separate yourself from the crowd. And you want to get an edge in anything you do, not just betting, claiming the horses or anything in life. That's what I talk about in the book is that skill set of being able to assess risk and find edges, exploit edges. That requires, those same skills are required to be successful in lots of things beyond just racing. So.
Absolutely. So yeah, and but my new product is available, and I'm excited to launch it at my site at wizardracingsports.com and DRF, and you're going to see a lot of promo on this product, Chris. The racing form is going to be all in, and that's a nice company to have behind you.
Yeah, well, definitely. It's iconic in this game. So I wish you the best of luck with your product. People got a little taste of your analysis here. Hopefully we got them thinking a little bit differently about some of the horses and races. And hopefully if some of you, again, if you're going to be at Del Mar next weekend, come by on Saturday to my book signing, say hello. Appreciate talking with any of you out there. But I want to thank you, Michael, for joining us today and all the listeners for listening in. That'll conclude show number 374 of the Sport of Kings podcast. Good luck this weekend, and please enjoy the Brooklyn Boogaloo Blowout. Cheers. That's a wrap.